David, your history with Bond there's a really cool story behind it with an album and John Barry taking a liking to it. Can you tell us a little bit about how that connection happened and his recommendation for you to take that first Bond film?
I don't even know if that's true. I mean, I'm saying that now. I actually don't know if that's true. I've never had no one's ever said to me, John Barry recommended you.
Really?
Yeah. John was at Air Studios recording something in Studio One. I was in my room upstairs. George Martin, who I'd got to know really well, knew I was a massive John Barry fan. He said, I can't do the voices. Would you like to come and meet John Barry? I said, yes, of course I would. So I come down and meet John Barry. Hello, David. And
you were a big Bond fan, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah. You think like, well, okay, well, that's Live and Let Die and the other 11s all in the same room. Extraordinary, really. But I was working on this record of Bond covers. And
when
George
you met Barry,
John,
were you in the middle of the record, or
I was in the middle of it? Yeah. I'd already done about 6, I think. And
you want to just tell our fans and who are listening what that record was?
Yeah, it was called Shaken and Stirred. And it was basically covers of Bond songs that I'd liked with people that I liked as artists doing them, because I loved records. It was I'd started it after Stargate, I think. It was in 1995, and I think it came out 2 years later, basically waiting for artists to become available. But so it started before Goldeneye happened. So it was in the kind of mire of Bond development, where after Timothy Dalton's last movie, there was all these problems and they couldn't get another one made for 6 or 7 years. So it was in that sort of dark period that I did the record. And I wanted to make that record because I wanted to make a record because I loved radio. And I thought one of the most exciting things that have ever happened to me was hearing the first record I'd made with Björk called Play Dead played on the radio in the UK, and it's like, for me, the radio was that's where I grew up with it, and hearing it on the radio was just quite extraordinary. And because radio is the medium that is in everyone's home. Even more than TV, it's more intimate than that, because you can walk around with headphones on and listen to radio. It's in your car. And I've sort of recently come to the conclusion that I think it's the greatest entertainment medium is radio. I think, as much as I love film, as much as I love theatre, I think radio is the greatest. And I think songs are the greatest art form. And sorry to all the poets and artists and everyone else.
No, but I was just thinking the opposite, which is there are a lot of radio people right now that would like to take this quote and put it on a billboard, because there's such terror that radio has been.
Well, it's available for rental if anyone wants to use it.
A license
but
fee.
I do think like that. And so I thought, like, well, I want to make a record. And obviously before I had any success with the films, you'd make a phone call to someone and it would be like, who? And then, a couple of movies come out and things go well. And you go like, oh, it's you. And it's fine. So anyway, so I ended up getting, sort of like a wish list of people whose music I'd loved anyway. And I thought, I just want to make a Bond record. I don't have to write it, so I can do it quick between movies. And that's how it started. Anyway, so George introduced me to John, and George said, David's been making this record, a lot of your songs. Would you like to listen to this couple? And he goes, yes. So I played him a couple and he really liked it. And we sort of hit it off, and that was it. I don't know if he was, sort of happy that someone was not doing big movies in order to do covers of his songs. But, he liked what he heard and he was vocal about that. But I mean, Barbara Broccoli told me a story which I have no reason to disbelieve. So I suspect this is probably the actual truth. I'd send Eon Production to obviously produce the movies, some of the tracks and artwork ideas, because I know they're very tight on copyrights of things, and I don't want anyone to be offended. And I thought, I'll just keep them in the loop of what I'm doing, so I don't get sued by anyone when it comes out. Like, you're not allowed to have a white cat. You're not allowed to use the words James Bond or 007 or something. Sure. Like let's just keep it so everyone knows what was going on. And I'd sent them a couple of tracks. And they'd actually put them into the temp score of Tomorrow Never Dies, which nice. I didn't know about. But Barbara's story to me was that she went into a record shop remember them. And she was buying some CDs of other composers to think about who could be the composer for Tomorrow Never Dies. And the guy at the checkout said to her, "You should listen to David Arnold stuff," and threw a couple of records her way. And she said, that's what she told me. So somewhere in the world, there is a guy who used to work in HMV in Oxford Street, who I owe
clerk, totally
a very large drink to, or a very small house. So,
yes, both.
Perhaps a martini.
I just wonder.
So off she went, and then they were putting it. So the track that they used was the version that I did of On Her Majesty's Secret Service with propeller heads into the BMW remote control driving sequence in Hamburg with Pierce Brosnan in Tomorrow Never Dies, and it sort of worked really well in that. And that was a thing I think that convinced them.